Hello and welcome to the Bibble IT screencasts. This is the first one of these that I've done, so we're just having a bit of an experiment, just trying to see about the format, etc. What we're going to have a look at today is a name resolution issue that affects Windows Server 2008 machines. In particular, it's the name resolution of .co.uk domains, but other domains are affected. So we have here the machine that we'll be using for testing during this. If I just do a quick WinVer, you can see here that this is actually a Server 2008 R2 machine, but the problem's exactly the same whether it's a 2008 or a 2008 R2. So if I open up the DNS management console here, I'm going to show you what the actual issue is. I've got my server here called Bibble-DC. I'm going to do an NS lookup against that. And we're going to look up something with a .co.uk address, so yahoo.co.uk. When the server's broken, this is what you would get back as a response to any lookup for a .co.uk for something that doesn't exist in the cache. Why does it do that? Well, if I expand out the root and then the UK, if we have a look at the UK domain, you can see here that the name server records for the .co.uk domains all end in nick.uk. If I have a look in nick.uk, I've got again these name server records, but I haven't got any of the glue records that are required to go away and do a lookup. If I clear the cache down on the server and do the same lookup again, I'll just get rid of that command prompt. So my yahoo.co.uk, it'll go away and it comes back with a proper response. If we look back in our cache, you can see under UK and then nick, this time, instead of having any name server records, we've actually got our glue records in here, which in this case are, obviously our A records. So we've got NS1, NS2, NS3, etc., all with the appropriate records. So what happens to get the server into the state where it's failed? If I highlight and delete these records out and look up another domain, this time google.co.uk, the reason being Yahoo's, we've got the lookup, so the information will be currently in the cache. If I look up Google, I'll go away, get the response, and if I have a look back in the nick section here, you can see this time, apart from as well as just having the A records, we've also got these name server records have been copied down from the top UK level into this nick level. If I now clear out all the glue records again and look up a third domain, so bbc.co.uk, we're in this position where we're getting this server failed message. So that's how we arrive in the situation where the server is faulty. But what causes the server to end up in this situation? If I go and clear the cache down on these records again, and then I'm going to look up, we'll just do BBC again, and going back and examine the cache. So we've got UK, got our name server records. Under nick, we've got purely our A records. If I have a look at the properties of that, you can see in here that the TTL, so that's how long these records are going to be valid for, is currently 24 hours, just under 24 hours. If I have a look at the name server records, that's currently set to 2 days, so 1 day, 23 hours. So what will happen is, after 24 hours, these records will disappear, and we then do our lookup again. Refresh this, and now we've got in the same folder here, we've got name server records that have a TTL of 2 days, and these A records that have a TTL of 1 day. So what's going to happen is after 1 day, these records will expire, therefore they'll disappear, and we'll be left with purely the name server records and no glue records. That's the situation, the trigger position, if you like, which causes the server to fail. So what's actually happening here, through enabling logging and capturing all the packets going backwards and forwards with the DNS server, which incidentally you can do by right-clicking and properties, then debug logging, and basically turning all of these settings on, including those two there, and outputting that to a file. If I open up a log that I captured earlier, you can see in here, this is the response from a root name server back to my server, containing the NS records. So you can see here NSB, nick UK, NS5, nick UK, NSA, nick UK, etc. All of those records that we should see in there. They've all got a TTL here of 172,800 seconds. That is actually 2 days. If you calculate that back out, it's saying that the TTL of all these records is 2 days. If I scroll down in this trace and find the glue records, so here's some of them here, So NS2 Nick UK's glue record, where we're actually being returned some data, so the actual IP address this time, you can see it's also got a TTL the same as the name server records of 2 days. What happens is when server 2008 gets those records, it's ignoring the TTL. It's setting the TTL itself to be 1 day. Therefore, if I do my lookup, we're back as we showed before, where these records are actually, they're meant to be valid for 2 days because that's the response the DNS server gave, but they're only lasting for 1 day, which is where we end up in this situation. Now, luckily, the fix for this, if I open up registry, if I can type, and security okay there. If I go into the registry and have a look under HKey local machine, system, current control set, services, DNS, and then parameters, there's a key that I can create in here, just a D-word value called max cache TTL. Just capitalize that. Now, this value overrides the default value of server 2008. So if I put in here decimal 2 days, so 172800, which is the value that our DNS server, if we look back in this log, that's the value that the DNS, the root naming servers, were telling our DNS server they needed to hold on to these, set the cache for these records to anyway. So apply that in the registry key, come back up here and restart my DNS server. And if I do my lookup for yahoo.co.uk and just refresh the cache, so under UK and Nick, we've now got these records which have a TTL correctly set to being 2 days. So why this doesn't then cause the problem is these records will expire, so all of those will disappear, but at the same time these name server records will expire. So this Nick UK would disappear. We would then come, do our lookup again. I need to do a lookup for something different because that's still in the cache. It goes away and it looks up all of those records again. So these get refreshed and the Nick here gets refreshed. So these name servers, we've got 1 hour 23:59, 1 hour 23:59. So that means all of these will expire at the same time and then leave the DNS server in the right position so that it's able to resolve .co.uk domains correctly. So there we go. I hope that's been useful. And I'll just pop my title back up there. On the website, there'll be a little write-up of the article with some links to varying places that also discuss this and mention some of the other domains. So if you've enjoyed this, please leave me a comment. Tell me if it's rubbish, tell me if it's good, and maybe I'll do some more of these. Thank you very much.